So, consumer VR traction is slower than many had initially anticipated, but it's still finding lots of small wins and is actually growing at a fairly healthy pace. But there are lots of questions like who's using it, and what are their motivations, and what experiences resonate most. So, we set out for answers, working closely with Thrive Analytics. Artillery Intelligence authored questions to be fielded through its established survey engine to more than 72,000 US adults, and the result is Wave 7 of the research and a narrative report we published to unpack the results. So what did we find out? First, 25% of respondents have used or own a VR headset, up from 23% in Wave 6, and they're doing it often. So 76% engage monthly or more, and this is a key factor for VR, given that adoption barriers can be high with things like setup and orientation. So the name of the game is ease of use and replayability. And we see that continuing to improve with the growth in standalone headsets like Meta Quest 2. Now, users also indicate that they like the experience as satisfaction ratings continue to be high, especially for headsets that have simpler setup and less activation energy, and that's going to continue to be a key design target for VR. As for other adoption drivers, the standout in this year's forecast was again Meta Quest 2. So Quest 1 and Quest 2 together now represent 48% of usage, up from 34% in Wave 6. And this aligns with the live market evidence we're separately tracking for Quest 2's consumer traction. Now, a lot of this has to do with Meta's investments in VR, so the $299 entry price alone is an attractive factor, given that Meta is trading margins for market share, as we like to say, and they're intent on building a network effect and getting the VR flywheel spinning, which is classic Meta. But the practical outcome is that consumers get a device that's cheaper than it should be, and that'll continue to drive sales and Quest 2's leading market share. As for price sensitivity, demand inflects at the price range between $200 and $600, which is where Quest 2 lives, as well as PSVR. Now, speaking of PSVR, both 1 and 2, it's a close second in terms of overall usage behind Quest 2. And when we look at these two leaders, there's a common thread if we're looking to pinpoint success factors. And one of those factors is that simple wins. So we've seen the most success with headsets that have highly curated experiences and plain spoken marketing that focuses on fun rather than listing hardware specs. And that's the case for Quest 2 and PSVR, which are technically inferior to higher spec'd PC VR rivals. So it's a very Nintendo-like approach, and it's working. So lastly, one thing that keeps popping up wave after wave of this research is that non-VR users report low levels of interest. It's now at 20%, up from 18% in the last wave. And the disparity between current user satisfaction and non-user disinterest underscores a key challenge for VR, which is that you have to experience it to really get it. It can't be captured in video or traditional marketing, so it's sort of a chicken and egg dilemma and a marketing challenge for the industry. As we like to say, it's like selling TVs on the radio. So it'll take time and acclimation and price reductions for adoption to grow in a sort of slow-moving step function over the next several years. So that just scratches the surface, and you can see more in the full report, including per headset breakdowns and other results. Now, meanwhile, the high-level takeaway is that VR's growth will be driven by continued downward pricing pressure, lots more content, and the lowered friction brought by standalone headsets. And all of these factors will collectively push VR forward, but it will be a slow burn.